Hello, everybody. This is Alex Merced from alexmerced.com, and this is the final part in my series of videos, The Art of Happiness. And now, the first part we did is we talked about why is happiness important. There's so many different intellectual fields out there. Why would it be important to have a specific discussion about happiness and understand why would it be important to understand why happiness is? And the conclusion is because that's the whole reason why anyone studies anything. Because they can hopefully use their knowledge to make an environment where other people are happier. So it'd be practical to just get straight to the point and talk about how to make ourselves happy instead of how to make other people happy. And hopefully in that endeavor, everyone is a happier person for it. Okay, so then in the second video, we actually defined what is happiness. So we define happiness as one of three factors. One, a sense of purpose. Two, a acceptance of your mortality. And three, an understanding of your circumstances and the questions you have about the world around you. Okay, and then basically unhappiness would be the opposite. Feeling like you have no purpose, being scared of death, feeling like you don't understand where you are in the world and why the world has put you where you are and all this stuff. And most of this time it just comes from just not necessarily some sort of spiritual understanding, even though that may help, but the idea is to understand. Okay? So a sense of purpose could come from several things. The idea is generally this comes from a participation with generally a social participation. Okay, we are a social creature. And you may think of yourself as antisocial or social, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't find purpose. And generally, purpose usually ends up being motivated by some other person. So maybe you would want to. So people like me who are big political activists are doing it because they want to help this sort of abstract idea that is the country and the people of that country. While other people may be happy because they have a purpose to protect or serve their family and their children and their spouses, or other loved ones, or communities they may be part of. So some people who start different groups and clubs and businesses, that becomes their purpose. But the idea is to have a reason to live your life, some sort of reason to move forward, because it makes you content. Okay, I can tell you the times that I can say that I've switched into unhappy mode, because again, unhappy and happy are sort of your default. You can have moments of euphoria and despair in between, but the idea is here you want to change your constant track to happy instead of being constantly unhappy with moments of euphoria. So in this case, the times where I've been the happiest have been the times where I do feel purpose. And then generally when I start feeling where a lack of purpose is when I tend to start becoming more unhappy for prolonged periods of time. Second, an acceptance of mortality, because one is really more a subset. This is more of a sub-idea behind the third point, which is an understanding of your circumstance. But one of the things that really sometimes distracts people is mortality, the fact that they won't be around forever. And coming to terms with that idea and actually seeing the beauty of it can really make life a lot easier. And this is where religion has actually helped a lot of people be happy. So a lot of people may consider different religions. Some people may say they're a beautiful thing. Other people may say they're irrational belief systems. Other people may say whatever. Other people may be just not care. But at the end of the day, the systems of religion actually provide for a lot of the very things that I'm outlining here. So a sense of purpose, an acceptance of mortality, and an understanding of your circumstances. Thus why, while maybe other people will find a lot of religions and the practices they may impose on their followers to be bizarre or inhumane, again, depending on the religion and the circumstances and the point of view of the people talking. But at the end of the day, a lot of religious people are happy. Actually, I think there's surveys showing that there's more happy religious people. Is it because of spirituality? I would say it's more because of the different common threads behind belief structures. But at the same time, I feel that if you probably surveyed people who are working versus people who aren't working, you'd probably find that people who are working are happier than people who aren't. Not because they don't necessarily have resources, but because they have a purpose. Okay, I bet you would find etc 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 etc. Generally, people who um, are happy are doing something. Okay, are participating in some sort of community. Again, it doesn't necessarily have to be religion, but religion is a good example of something that fulfills these parts. Um, like for example, the most unhappiest people I see are the ones you always hear about, and people always joke about living in your mom's basement. Like people who haven't moved out from home, they still don't have a job, uh, they haven't spent much time in intellectual pursuits and don't know about much, yet they have a lot of questions. Um, it's the three things that I'm talking about here are all lacking. Now, as far as me accepting mortality, and I'll talk to you about how I view it because it may help you come to this point, so that way you can be happy as well. Okay, when I view mortality, I think mortality is a necessary thing. Nothing can last forever, and I think that's a beautiful thing that nothing lasts forever. The human species won't last forever. There'll be other species that come after us, but that's important because it's through the end that new beginnings come. And I know that sounds cliche and trite, but think about it this way. The reason why we as a humanity has progressed and new ideas have come in is because we've had new people come in, and those new people bring new ideas. And since older people whose ideas maybe don't evolve as fast as younger people or have stopped evolving, sort of recycle. I mean, again, I hate to sort of use that kind of blunt terminology. What happens is that those new ideas can move forward. Okay, it's kind of like, in order to build a new building, you got to destroy an old building. There will be come up to a point where my creativity will have hit its point, has hit its max, and I won't really be able to create the way I can now. And at that point, I understand that it's time for someone to sort of fill that role and continue to move everything forward. I accept that. That's fine. I'm young now, and I'm trying to create as much as I can for the world. Okay? But the thing is that if you appreciate that creative process, if you appreciate moving forward, you have to appreciate the volatility that is mortality. And not just mortality of your life, but the mortality of anything. The end of different types of relationships, the end of businesses, the ends of TV shows. From every end, there is a new beginning, and then there's a lot of truth to that, and it's a very important fact. This is why I actually fear immortality. Not fear it, but people who sit there and say one day we'll be able to live forever. Well, to me, that scares me because that'll be the end of creativity. Um, you know, so that's why accepting mortality is such an important part, because not only will it make you happier because you don't have that question anymore. People always question what's going to happen to me when I die. Once you just accept that it's going to happen, and then whether it's within a religious context, not a religious context, or whatever context, once it's accepted, you can move on and start answering other questions and start trying to understand the world ahead of you. Because again, I talked about how unhappiness tends to be from a lot of frustration. For example, take a look at children. When do they throw tantrums? When Ma says, no, I'm not going to buy you this toy, they're not mad because they said no. They're mad because they don't understand why Mom said no. Okay? When someone gets upset, the example I used in the second video of someone being rejected, they're not upset because they got rejected. They're upset because they don't understand why. They don't understand because if they understood why, they can change that one thing. And then they'd be happy. So understanding your circumstances, answering your questions is important. If you're frustrated by something, don't leave it to another day. Go out and learn that thing. You have a question, any question pops up in your mind, go do that thing. Go figure it out. Again, not everybody necessarily needs to be a genius. No one needs to understand everything. Some people ask more questions than others. But when you have a question, answer it. Okay? This is why, to me, understanding libertarian philosophy and economic theory has been so instrumental in the happiness I feel like I enjoy on a daily basis, because it helps me understand, one, my place in the world, and understand why I think the world works around me and how it works, and accept my role in all of that. So I have that sense of purpose. I accept that, one day I won't be around, but out of that, but at that point, new things will come out of that, and that I understand the forces in the world that have put me in the position that I am today, and I appreciate that. And once you appreciate all these things and don't feel frustrated about what you don't know, and just feel content with what you do know, you can be content with life and you can be happy. This is how to achieve happiness. So hopefully you found this interesting, hopefully you found this enlightening, and this concludes The Art of Happiness.